Good morning, Dreyfus. Today, we take a moment to reflect on the 2,977 lives lost on September 11, 2001, in the planned terrorist attacks against the United States. This day tested our people, but united us as a nation. I'm Emily Bailey.
And I'm Valerie Schmidt. Before we begin, please rise for performance of the national anthem by Olivia Urasek and Alexis Archer.
On that morning of September 11, 2001, our country experienced tragic terrorist attacks that changed history. 4 planes were hijacked, 2 of them struck the Twin Towers, 1 hit the Pentagon, and the other plane crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers bravely fought for hours.
Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives that day, including police officers, firefighters, and everyday citizens. Not only do we commemorate the ones we lost today, but we also recognize the countless acts of bravery that citizens contributed. Now to Oriana for a detailed look into this tragic event.
On the morning of September 11th in 2001, the world watched as New York City was engulfed in a black smoke after the Twin Towers had been hit. However, 2 other flights carried stories that caused devastation, yet tested the courage and sacrifice of the American people, forever changing America. At 9:37 a.m., just 34 minutes after the Twin Towers in New York City were struck, American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon, the headquarters of our nation's Department of War, located in Arlington, Virginia.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're looking at a live picture from Washington, and there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon.
As the plane tore through the building, flames erupted and a black smoke filled the blue morning skies. All 64 people on board and 125 civilians inside were killed. It was a black hole of destruction. A mere 26 minutes later, United Airlines Flight 93 crashed in a field in western Pennsylvania. Its intended target, the U.S. Capitol building. However, the passengers and crew on board knew of the previous terrorist attacks via emotional phone calls to their families and friends, learning their plane was a part of the same plot. They made the selfless decision to fight back. The passengers attempted to rush the cockpit, and in doing so, the terrorists chose to crash the plane in the Pennsylvania field rather than risk the passengers and crew regaining control of the plane. This story of terror turned into one of heroism. The sacrifice of those on Flight 93 saved the countless lives that would have been lost if the plane reached its target, just like the bravery of the first responders and service members at the Pentagon. The 4 aircraft strikes killed nearly 3,000 people. Yet, in the midst of devastation, we saw strength, resilience, and a strong sense of unity. In the years that followed, this unity inspired progress, a future forever changed.
Today, it's our responsibility as youth to spread remembrance of these events. Our team spoke with Dreyfus students and asked them a few questions on how 9/11 affects us today and why it's important.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Leila Benoit, and today is a day of remembrance. And although we weren't alive on the day of the attacks, it's important to acknowledge and to commemorate the lives and experiences of those who suffered. So, Leila, Why do you think it's important for younger generations to know what happened that day?
Well, for my generation, I think it's less of remembering where we were that day and more of paying our respects and having empathy towards those who either witnessed the attacks or even had friends or family who has passed away or had to go through that day as well.
Just so that it doesn't go unnoticed or forgotten with time, because I feel like it was such a pivotal moment in our history that if it goes unnoticed with time, it's just going to become less of a significant event, and people won't remember the significance and importance of making sure that we stick to the preventable acts that make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
So do you think the way 9/11 is taught in school feels personal or distant?
So while obviously it feels distant because we weren't there when the events actually took place, I still think it's personal because it's such a heavy topic and subject that like the whole student body still feels empathy for those who had to go through that or had to witness anything going on.
I'd say it feels personal. I'm pretty sure every teacher that I've had who taught about 9/11 remembers that day and has pretty much always shared an anecdote about that day, and it feels so real.
And how do you think 9/11 still affects the way we live and how?
I think 9/11 still affects the way we live today because we've got the Department of Homeland Security, we've got the Patriots Act, in our airports, we've got preventative security measures. We have a lot more measures put in place now than we did before to make sure that this event never happens again.
But I think it also affects our lives in ways that aren't written, in the sense that we're very, like, obviously with TSA and airports and things of that nature, but I would say that also a lot of our precaution and I think also fear when we fly or we really do any sort of like thing of that nature, I think it creates a bit more fear, at least for me.
My heart goes out to those who either lost their lives or, have known someone to have died during 9/11. And I hope on this day we can all come together and really pay our respects to those who have lost their lives on this tragic event.
Thank you to our students who took the time to share their perspectives. I'm Layla Benoit. Now back to the anchors.
Now on to some school news. Our senior class council is holding a fundraiser called Do Good with Chipotle. Go to the Palm Beach Lakes Chipotle on Thursday, September 18th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. to fundraise for our school. Order online for pickup using code 72VRRHT.
Tonight, Our Lady Jaguars face their biggest test yet at home against West Boca. JV will take the court at 5:30 p.m., followed by varsity at 7 p.m. Let's pack the stands and make some noise to support our team.
The Pulsetta Project is coming back to Dreyfus. The Pulsetta Project is a fair trade nonprofit organization that educates, empowers, and connects Central American artists with students in more than 4,000 U.S. schools throughout the sale of colorful hand-woven bracelets, or pulseras in Spanish. The Pulsetta sale will start on Monday, September 15th, which is the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month.
For some reminders, seniors, don't forget to attend College Boot Camp this Saturday. Please sign up on Naviance and you don't want to fall behind. Also, EOC and PM1 retakes are happening tomorrow in the Media Center. Make sure to eat a filling breakfast and do your best. That's all for today's show, Dreyfus. I'm Emily Bailey.
And I'm Valerie Schmidt. Have a great day, Dreyfus, and never forget.